Hey everybody, my name's Ben Dobbins. I run Zombie Feast Entertainment. I came down from Canada today to do Culture on a Stick with you. I'm joined today in the studio by BJ.
Hi.
By Sarah. Hello. And the only Matt Shimkus, who matters.
Hello.
So, we're going to be talking about something cool and nerdy today. We're going to be discussing loads of ZOE news. If we have some time, I'm gonna try a new feature here with one of the props from our shelves, and we'll do a Q&A with the audience. We'll keep an eye on chat. Hello to Windrow Missed Winter and Benjamin so far. Hopefully more of you will have a chance to join us as we go along. And jumping straight into the nerd topic du jour, which is less controversial than the other topic we could discuss.
Right.
So I was just speaking with Chris Odie earlier today. We were chatting about...
Really?
Right?
How do you know?
Biblically.
In a biblical sense.
Yeah.
Not just because he's a pastor.
Right.
Not just because he's a public figure.
Not just because he's a pastor. We were chatting about the recent trip to Disneyland that he took with the family. And we really... I mean, first of all, we talked about Tom Sawyer Island because Tom Sawyer Island is awesome. You know, you have all these caves and kids can run everywhere, super exploration. But the reason that came up is we were discussing the new Star Wars land that is coming up, how Tom Sawyer Island had to shut down for a while. And what I find particularly interesting about what Disney is building is that it plays into one of my personal obsessions and loves, which is massive interactive storytelling. Have any of you ever done murder mysteries?
Yeah.
With
you
right.
and with other people.
Right. So
Just with you. I think
just
I've
with
only
me,
ever
yeah.
done your murder mysteries.
Which ones did you do?
Oh, jeez. I did the one at your old house.
Okay.
In Fremont.
So that would have been Lost at Sea or the casino. Lost at Sea.
Lost
Okay.
at Sea.
Yeah.
And I did the one in the restaurant.
The Speakeasy.
Speakeasy.
Yeah. That mob town where we had 80 players.
Yeah, so so much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did an 80-player one. We also did.
I think the one I did was at ZOECon.
We did a ZOECon one. We did a 16-hour overnight one at Fort Worden in the barracks.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
With a 7-course meal that Christelle put together, and you know, people were just playing all night, and it was amazing. But what Disney is now talking about doing is, especially at Disney World, they are building a hotel next to Star Wars Land that you can basically fully immerse in character, follow story threads over multiple days, how you do on the rides, affect the kinds of
What do you mean how
experience.
You do on the rides? Like
well,
you don't pee
like,
your pants, you get bonus.
So they're talking about like a Millennium Falcon ride where if you don't pee your pants, maybe you succeed in your mission or you fail on your mission, and then because they have their handy app that can track everything that you're doing, like you show up in a bar later, someone approaches you and chews you out for doing poorly at the mission.
Oh, wow.
So they're talking about building all these interactive story threads in, and I thought it'd be interesting just for all of us to talk for a few minutes about kind of where we see that kind of interactive, deeply immersive storytelling going. Essentially what happens when corporate America discovers LARPing.
I think when corporate America discovers LARPing, I think they're going to make it so palatable that everyone's going to be doing it, and all of a sudden the stigma surrounding it is going to be less if you're doing the corporate LARPing. If you're out in the woods, with a bunch of people, like if you're doing Nero in New England, where they really get into it.
Yeah.
I think I would love to see it all come together and be this awesome moment where nerd culture can really kind of be embraced. But I get the feeling that if it becomes like commodified, and this is the socialist part of me thinking, like it's just going to ruin it. It's going to do what capitalism does to everything.
Well, and we'll come back to that thread. Right. I want to get first impressions from the two of you.
I was thinking about how like fantasy football and fantasy baseball and all that stuff kind of gives the D&D kind of experience to the sports people. And I wondered if this kind of thing would do that, because it would have that corporate thing to it, so people that wouldn't normally be interested in it could do that kind of activity. I don't know, but the Disneyland itself, like I was just there, they do have this app, and it knows like all the things. It knows which pictures are yours. You like show it a thing, and you get downloaded right away. So I think they're like really ready to be integrated into it. And I don't know much else.
Yeah. So first off, I love LARPing. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I was in Memphis for the national convention for the MES organization, Mind's Eye Society, and that was the big LARP event there, which is, you know, vampires, werewolves, what have you.
What were you?
I played a Carpathian Jamisi in the Vampire LARP.
Okay.
He is one of the only ones in Chronicle, and I'm starting the PC push to try to drag the Carpathians into open dialogue with the Camarilla, so maybe we can form an alliance there. So we'll see how that goes. But on this topic, is actually one that I discussed recently on G+, where we have things not like this yet, but over in Prague, there was a weekend LARP that was basically Harry Potter experience. Practically, it wasn't called Harry Potter, but it was essentially that. They rented a castle, everyone got in their houses, they had, here's the spell book, and you had to memorize all this stuff and play in character 24/7 for the entire weekend. They've done that for Vampire the Masquerade in the same place, and we're starting to see those here in America as well. And the problem with those is that they're like one shot, so it's kind of has an elitist stigmatism to it, kind of like the Black Sun by the Monty Cook games,
Right.
Where only a certain tier of role players get that, but something more commercial.
The tier who can
Because
afford
it costs
$300.
Yeah, exactly.
Per
That wants to.
module, right?
Exactly. But this is kind of, it's more commercial, so it's like, hey, everyone can go and everyone can compare their experiences.
I had one more thought. Can I have another thought? If you're done.
I'm done.
Okay. You sounded like you're winding down,
No,
so I
that's
want.
all.
Okay. I think it just reminds me a lot of what we do during the live streaming, like every week when we're doing live streaming, when we're doing Metaverse, or when we're doing DFA, like getting in character, acting like the people that are actually doing the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was my thought.
Well, thinking kind of toward the future, you know, I mean, you brought up the socialist concern, and have any of you? Did any of you read Cory Doctorow's Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom?
No.
I'm assuming poverty in Disneyland is basically what you're talking about.
It's basically takes place in a future where it's been years since I've read it, but you have your kind of cyberpunk arcologies and Disney, and its currency is called Wuffy, and it's all based on kind of the amount of social capital that you've accumulated, and so your entire, you don't want to go bankrupt, so you have to keep your social capital up. But you know, it's kind of a love letter to Disneyland, but also really kind of a look at when the Disneyland model spreads. And I think in some ways it's very forward thinking as we now talk about, you know, where else have we heard about apps that can track everything that you do, that have a number attached to you, that know when your photo's been taken, that allow people to track your movements, to optimize. I mean,
A lot of apps.
yeah, a lot of apps do that. China has now taken this model in some ways to an extreme. You know, like here in America, we have our credit ratings, which, you know, in many ways kind of encourage us to behave socially in a certain way. And in China, now your social rating can be used to deny you the right to travel, for example.
So like if you break,
Well, there's a
Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
like you break too many laws and you have too many negative points or something.
Or you speak poorly about the government.
We don't want to let you out of the country to spread all this
Or
stuff we're saying.
to move within the country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's fascinating, like tracking, you know, us as nerds looking at, here are the awesome ways that this technology can be used for good, but then also, you know, it's fascinating to look 10, 20 years down the road and say, well, how would the Disney arcology use this technology to, you know, in more sinister ways?
And we just, if anyone follows Westworld, that's basically, can I spoil it? That's basically what the second season was about. Was the park is being used to gather the information about all the guests. So what are they going to use it now for? And the big investor, Delos, got into it because he was saying like, well, what can you use this for? Well, now you can target your advertisements better, et cetera, et cetera. And that kind of hides the real purpose of what they're doing, and that you discover towards the later end of the season. But.
Yeah.
So we have a comment from Rickety Cat saying corporations would want to make it too safe and family friendly or else. Star Wars being inherently violent, I'm wondering how Disney is going to make it insurance safe and non-violence oriented.
I was going to say, so I've done Boffer LARP, and I now, that was back in high school and middle school, and now though, like the Vampire LARP that I was in Memphis, there's no physical contact unless it's consensual. If you want to do something violent, you just say, hey, physical challenge, this is what I'm doing. And you mediate it, or you get a storyteller to adjudicate it.
Yeah.
There's another piece as well, of news that came out about Disney over the last week. Did any of you see the new robots that they've built?
No.
Disney built robots?
So, well, I mean...
Are they working with Boston Dynamics?
So Disney has been at the forefront of robotics for years.
Yeah.
No, they have built robots to use for their superhero stunt shows. So they can like do these amazing pre-programmed stunts where they're up into the air, they strike the superhero pose, they land in the net.
Wow. Well, they were doing, like, I mean, I know it wasn't robots. I'm pretty sure it wasn't robots if you said it was just launching, but they did this thing in Fantasmic where there were all it was like Pirates of the Caribbean, so like Jack and whoever, what's-her-face plays, but they were like doing swingy rope things and climbing. I don't know what safety equipment they had going on, but it looked intense and real
they
and
usually
scary.
Have pretty intense safety equipment. But the point I wanted to kind of make is, as we're talking about violence, at least within the Star Wars universe, so much has kind of been offloaded to the droids already. I could see people getting to offload their violence to the violence droids.
It's also lasers.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just do laser tag in Disneyland?
Yeah. And you've said that apps will track you throughout the park. That's an easy way to just throw in any sort of dispute resolution.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and this is one of the things that I've also been obsessed with for years. Is I think what so many of these places are missing is, as we talk about. Because at this point, your app is basically providing augmented reality. Yeah. Whether it's via your phone or a headset or whatever else, you're adding layers of information to reality. In this case, gamification.
Right.
And I think what many of these places are missing is that what we're going to need is like a shared API for gamifying social interactions within the context of these games, because like you think back to the murder mysteries, they're not about violence, they're about having conversations, and under certain preset conditions, like you've talked for 5 minutes, now you get a new piece of information, which could also be mediated
by this
via apps, and that seems to me what nobody is talking about.
Well, I was going to say, in tabletop games and in LARPs, it is a constant argument of player skill versus character skill.
Yes.
And that's just what you're getting to. Like, what can I RP just because you're Matt Shimkus? I mean, you could knock someone's socks off, but your character has, like, a social stat of 1.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to do is just put people into so rigid a framework, like a video game style framework. When you record dialogue for a video game, you don't record infinite dialogue.
No.
You record within a specific framework that's been very carefully designed. But when we're engaging in LARP-like behavior, the interactions are infinitely more complex.
Oh yeah. And I think that the dynamic of conflict changes over the course of, depending on what you do. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's really hard to.
What if you could?
Kind of. I mean, I think it seems to make more sense when you've got when you got rules.
Right.
I mean, when you got a book that has all of this is kind of what you're able to do. So maybe try and stick to this. We don't want to like completely confine you, but.
What if when you met socially, you could like give each other points? Like you get 2 socials for that 2 social commodities because I appreciated you.
And you can automate that too.
Yeah.
Or if you talk for 10 minutes, maybe you unlock
something. And you definitely need to automate it, honestly, because if you're running a theme park, even more so than a normal LARP, keep it simple, stupid. Needs to be the rule.
Yeah.
Because kids are going to want to play.
And adults will want to
Adults
play.
will wanna play.
Adults are going to want to be like, okay, kid, go play. I trust that this is going to be a safe environment for you. Like, I think that's something that Disney is probably going to be really good at.
Yeah.
Because they've been in the hotel business for a long time. They've been in the cruise line business for a long time. And so I think how much more lethal would cruises be if you didn't have a company like just absolutely, dead set, forgive the phrase, on keeping people safe.
And I think what we'll also see is that the consequences for people who abuse those rules or try to power game those rules will be swift and extreme.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be. I mean, you try to break the game, they're gonna let you out of this. Here, go to one of our other hotels. We're not gonna take. We're not gonna deny you. Or there's gonna be such a heavy, contract that you sign beforehand that it's going to say, okay, if you do this,
we'll still take your
done.
money, but you're done.
And maybe we need that in fandom. You break the rules of engagement. You harass. You behave in certain ways.
Yeah,
we kind of already do that, don't we?
Right, we do.
Depending on the org,
it happens, and I think it happens. I just wish it would happen more organically, socially, rather than an organization having to come down heavy-handedly.
Like when somebody says
there are leaders within every community, and at varying strata of responsibility that they take on themselves. But I would just love to see people stand up for others more, rather than waiting for an organization to come down on people who violate the norms of society, of whatever that society might be.
This is where I was actually really proud of the ZOE fandom recently. So we had an event where various, like 4 or 5 Nazi-affiliated people, it was clear from their profiles, showed up on our Discord server. And started causing havoc, and we kind of identified them very quickly, banned them from the server, and then I made a statement on the Discord and a statement on Facebook saying, hey, you know what? Nazis aren't welcome here.
Right.
And let's reaffirm our values, which is, if you're involved with and advocating for a hate group that tries to exclude other people from the table, you're not welcome. Yeah. And what was amazing, I lost 2 days to this, just moderating the discussion. The Discord was fine. Facebook not so much, because the post spread all over and a lot of people showed up. But what I found was that leaders within our community were engaged, knew what was going on, were able to step in and kind of stand up for community values in a way that made me feel really proud of the ZOE fandom.
Well, and I think that's what it's going to take to make positive influences in, not that ZOE is a small community, but smaller
It is smaller.
I mean, and I think that will filter up. I mean, it'll take a critical mass for it to happen, but that gives me a little hope, Yeah.
Well, and I think in some ways that's why I love that we've started small and built gradually, because it allows us to create a culture with certain norms and certain expectations, and then the fans and the cast and the crew and kind of all of us then perpetuate and grow that culture. So as we grow, we have leaders within the fan community who are able to continue to communicate it, so that we don't lose what makes us special. Yeah. So, awesome. Well, I'm going to move on to the ZOE news, because we have a hell of a lot to cover. And I imagine all of you have questions. So what do you think? Should we start with which property?
Just go top down.
Yeah.
Alphabetical.
Okay.
people you need to thank.
Journey Quest.
There you go.
We do have people to thank. I'm going to get to that. Thank you. So starting with Journey Quest. If you haven't heard, we are currently planning a campaign for Journey Quest 3.5. What we've discovered is every season of the show, we've had to cut and cut and cut parts of the story in order to afford it. And so we got the scripts in for seasons 4 and 5 and realized, crap, here are a half dozen scenes from both seasons that we already need to cut.
Yeah.
That mean that there are beloved characters who would never see their character arcs fulfilled because of budgetary concerns.
Yeah.
So the goal with 3.5 is we're going to pick up the deleted scenes from season 2, 3, 4, and 5
Oh, awesome. Wow.
Cool.
that will allow us to kind of preemptively fill in what we would miss. The other advantage is that will allow us to shoot out a couple of existing locations in Seattle, Tacoma.
Great.
Like Carkeek Park or so forth. You know, places that we know we need to,
near us.
or the disc golf place. Places we know we have,
place,
right? We know we have to return. So let's shoot all of that out, get a jump start on the next few seasons, and now we're free to travel.
Yeah.
Once we've shot out this area, if we want to go to that castle, for example, because there's a lot of castle action in season 5.
That's right.
You know, that becomes an option. So, so that campaign will be coming up soon. However, the first campaign that we have coming up is the first campaign for the Fantasy Network. This is our partnership with Aerostorm and The Forge. We have our apps up. We're going to be launching officially in August at Gen Con.
Oh, that's exciting.
But there's a Canadian show called One Hit Die. They've just shot their 3rd season. It's in post right now. We're going to run a $22,000 Kickstarter campaign to help supplement their post and then premiere it on the Fantasy Network.
Great.
So that'll be kind of our first shot. And Maggie Doyle has stepped in as our Kickstarter manager.
Awesome.
And so she's going to be working on that. My hope is that we can do some live Kickstarter live streaming straight out of the studio. So so we're going to kind of use that as the first piece of our brave new Kickstarter future, where we have our fulfillment partners and we know where our birch comes from, and in theory it won't take us 2 years to fulfill the
Kickstarter once it's complete.
And I won't have to be the one who's trying to do it with everything else. So super excited about that. Gamers, the Shadow Menace. Do you wanna show off the award?
Yeah, in case you didn't see it, here it is. It's a fancy piece of laser-etched glass.
Best pilot over 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Vancouver Webfest, Gamers Shadow Menace.
And we also have over here
The Strouthers one.
Best
it's not Gamers, but
Strowlers, Best Visual Effects.
beautiful.
So Gamers and Strowlers both just won at Origins Film Festival.
I didn't hear about Origins.
Really?
Origins, that's great.
Yeah, Best Gaming Film and Best Fantasy,
Awesome.
respectively. Both are nominated at Starable Fest coming up. Gamers
Is that
for
in New York?
Yep,
Okay.
Tribeca.
Oh,
Gamers for Best Comedy and Best Ensemble Cast.
sweet.
Strowlers for Best Drama, Best Directing, Best Cinematography, and Best Editing.
Cool.
That's great.
Yeah. So so we're actually doing so well that what I can say publicly is I'm working on a long shot deal that might get a whole season funded.
Exciting.
Exciting.
Long shot,
Long shot.
but I also need to write the next episode.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Yeah, I kind of want to survive Gen Con, and
That's fair.
yeah. And what's fun about writing these Gamers episodes, it's like the very first Demon Hunters film. We kind of get to pick our modern day targets.
Yeah.
You know, who's annoying me right now?
Who's
And-
under my skin in a not cool
Right.
way?
And let's see. We're leverage style, going after white collar criminals, basically people who have a lot of entitlement and who are using their power in order to harass other people.
Think of anybody like
Oh, what will we do? What will we do?
All right. All right.
Yeah.
That's what we ought to do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So so that's been percolating. Gabriel Gonda has a pretty cool concept.
Cool.
So
excited.
yeah, so that'll be moving forward. Strowlers, we are going to be premiering the whole world finally after 10 years of effort.
So with
Yeah.
It's coming out
Mongolia
at
and
Gen
everything
Con.
too?
We'll be premiering the Strowlers pilot, the Mongolian episode, the Ireland episode. We have this beautiful leather-bound, foil embossed World Bible,
Oh, great.
and we finished our new license. And the deal with our new license, this is pretty cool. So we're moving on from Creative Commons to something even more radical.
Oh, wow.
So we're calling it a shared cinematic universe license, which basically says, okay, here's the license for Strowlers, here's the world, here's all the information. You have full freedom to take this IP and make and sell it commercial derivatives.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So like,
Do
but
whatever you want.
Do they have to stay within the Bible thing?
No. Literally, we are giving the whole thing away and saying, take it and run with it. Now, the place, kind of the premium thing that we're offering that I'm excited about is we're basically going to allow people, give people the option of working with us to make their stories canon. An official part of the universe. And so there are more rules if it's canon, and those rules are we have to approve it. So that
Can anybody see the Bible?
anyone can see the Bible. We have the we'll be migrating it over to wiki.zombieorpheus.com soon, and there'll be plenty. And we've developed all sorts of custom fields, so anyone can add to it, but only we can like designate certain entries as canon, so that there's room kind of for awesome ideas to happen anywhere, but also for us to say yes, that, and give it the stamp of approval.
So with this licensing, do somebody who takes the IP and does their own thing with it, do they have to say, okay, this is produced under this license, sort of?
Yes, exactly.
With whatever
so the license requires attribution. You have to, and share alike. You have to release under the same license, and so forth. So they're basic terms that kind of outline behavior and the ability for us to say for hate speech and illegal works to retract that license. Or worse, to say, well, you've cast yourself as the villains, I guess we'll just have to work with that. And I'm not above, if some jerks on the alt-right decide to make their Strahler's film, I'm not above letting them think that they're the heroes and then undermining them with our future stories. I'm okay with that. So, I
mean, I think you kind of creatively reap what you sow, of course. But
so we're also working on a version of that license for Demon Hunters and for Farther All.
Oh, cool.
So Matt is now came to me and basically said, all right, what would it take to open up Farther All? Obviously, there's certain eras and areas. But, we have all these ages and all these different places for people to build the world. Why not let people in? But kind of the big move is essentially saying, all right, we're throwing any concerns about piracy out the window. Take it.
Do cool stuff.
If you want to sell your stuff, great. If you want to give it away, great. Our job is to build a community who loves the story and wants it to continue.
Cool.
And that's going to work in conjunction with the Fantasy Network, which we're also launching at Gen Con.
Now, the Fantasy Network is like Netflix or Amazon Prime in that you watch videos on it.
So right now it looks a lot like a video on demand, a streaming service. Subscription video on demand, SVOD, they call it, or OTT.
Like Netflix.
Yes, like Netflix.
I need examples.
But we've built it, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but we've built it so that we have the connections to, as the infrastructure comes online, we'll be able to give people automatic access to the wiki so that they can, and automatic access to the Discord, and automatic access to the forums subscribers, so that, or let's say you pledge to a Kickstarter campaign, great, we're going to give you 6 months of a Fantasy Network subscription, and what's cool there is then, great, the film's done, you go to the Fantasy Network to watch it, but now you're right there, let's watch some more cool shows. So it allows all of us kind of within this independent fantasy world.
And all of our stuff is going to be on it?
And lots of awesome other shows as
from
well.
other groups, film companies.
Like we have Standard Action on there, AFK, One Hit Die is going to be launching there next week, Dark Darkness, the entire Aerostorm library, the entire library from The Forge.
Cool.
So, super awesome. And hopefully by the end of this month we'll have the ability for any Patreon supporters at $5 and up to log in automatically.
That's super
and just
cool.
access it.
That's huge.
So we're getting there. Gen Con's coming up. We're doing Gamers Live.
Twice.
We've also, I'll announce this to the Patreon, we just signed a contract with Gen Con. We are going to be bringing all of our gear out, and we're going to provide all of the multicam video support for the guest of honor talk interviews and for the Gen Con Insights speeches. Which
are like TED Talks.
Which are like TED Talks.
For Gen Con. Gen Talks.
So super excited about working with Gen Con to do that. I will be giving one of the 3 people giving an Insights speech this year.
Awesome. Very cool.
Do you know what you're going to say?
I do know what I'm going to say if they
Awesome.
allow it. It basically, how do we build healthy fan communities?
There you go.
We can cut
The
Nazis.
discussion's got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they would say that.
No, I mean the draft of my speech is pretty. I call people out. Like, let's use Nazis as an example, but then let's understand what is hate speech and what is not hate speech, and how we manage and whether we have a responsibility to give it a platform within our fandom.
Sure.
Spoiler: no.
Yeah.
So all that's coming up. Just have to finish authoring 2 DVDs and 2 Blu-rays and get the book printed and get the DVDs printed and all that stuff. So so that's kind of the news update. Livestream Studios coming along nicely.
Yeah.
If we have any questions, now would be the perfect time to throw them in so we can do that. But in the meantime, I was thinking it might be cool if we grab a random prop off of here and then tell the backstory.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I'm
a bunch of these I don't know.
good. Pick something.
I can just. Oh, what's okay?
Do you know the story of this?
Nope.
And then put it back.
Oh, I have to know the story.
You have to know the story.
Yeah, because a lot of these props, I don't know the story either.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff, a lot of these props.
Oh, so we're not making up the story.
directly.
Well, I don't.
We
I
can just improv and just make up a story.
That's true. Okay, Matt, you're on.
Well, we got one. We've got one right here.
Oh, you know the story of this prop?
I do.
Okay,
I
you
made
win.
it.
Perfect. Tell us.
It's for Sparkle Sisters. It's Princess Eliana's magical wand that controls the power of the sun. And I made it out of hot glue, glitter, lots of hot glue and glitter, old buttons for my grandmother's house, lots of old buttons and ribbons. That's what it is.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
What
Awesome.
was the most memorable scene that you used that in?
Sparkle Sisters. Oh, I decapitated a bunch of blobby, orcs, blobby energy things with like this. I just kind of.
That got dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it.
Went straight to the capitation.
And I did it with a Valley Girl accent.
As one does.
like you do.
Awesome.
So that's my prop.
Fantastic. Well, that has been prop stories for today. Save the rest.
I thought everybody got one. I'm
No,
sorry.
we'll just do
Oh, okay.
one each time,
There you
and we start running out of some. We'll
get some more
send this
props.
back to the storage unit, and we have
Get more props.
so many cubic feet of stuff right
There's a lot
now.
of stuff here, though. This will take us a
that
while.
whole stuff.
It'll take a while.
Most
There's
of
a lot
the
more
proppy
coming in.
kind of things are out.
Well, I'm certain that we've overextended our welcome here, and we're
Nickelback
7
Explosion was
minutes
awesome.
over.
True.
There we go.
Nickelback Explosion
Perfect.
was awesome.
As was the ooze decapitation. I'm so glad the fans know what's going on. I want to give thanks today to some of our Patreon supporters who,
We
thanks
love
to
you.
you, we're able to stay in business. We would not exist without our Patreon backers.
100% yes.
You make everything we do possible. Today I want to thank Brent Phillips,
Thank you,
Corey
Brent.
Moore,
Thank you, Corey.
James Herbert.
James.
And as well, Justin Hotchkiss Palermo, Benjamin Mobley. I see you there, Benjamin. Thank you. Your name is on the list.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
And Robert K. Hobson, who
Thank
I
you.
believe we know as another name, but I don't know if I'm allowed to out his
we might
screen
not be
name.
able to.
Probably not. I don't
Yep.
know how that
Probably
works.
So I won't.
Just
So
in case.
thank you very
Yep.
much.
Thank you,
Yeah,
all the people.
thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week for
Monday.
Monday.
No, we'll see you Monday.
Monday for
2 days. Project Metaverse.
Project Metaverse.
Christian is taking newbies
Featuring
into the
some
Metaverse.
Awesome stuff.
It's going to be hilarious. They don't know anything. They don't
know
know
nothing.
anything. It's going to be
Does
awesome.
anyone know anything?
I'm
on
going to
that
so
show?
troll them in chat the whole time.
Yeah.
It's going to be so good.
So are we gonna have a Saturday stream as well, or just
we're
gonna do
up in the air right
the
now.
FFA again?
I think my
Okay.
Saturday might be full, but
Okay.
I will check. We will put the word out as soon as we know.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Culture on a Stick. We've had BJ, Sarah, and Matt Shimkus.
Why he gets a last name and we don't know.
Well,
It's okay.
how many Sarahs are there in ZOE?
Oh, a lot. Aren't there? There's Sarahs everywhere.
Sarah Moore,
Okay.
Sarah Sanders Odie, Sarah Odie.
You should cut us
Deep's
off
sister.
before this.
It was like the
Yeah.
third most popular name when I was born.
Super Sarah?
All right, Arslan has outed himself, so on that we'll say
All right.
thank you to Arslan and everyone else, and good night.
Good night.